thank you so much for coming out here tonight. And we're excited about our first session as part of the counseling, teaching and learning, MTSS. Really, this is a whole team approach, right? To support our community and provide information on topics that really pertain to mental health, also social emotional learning. So today is our first session, and we're very excited to have two of our wonderful counselors presenting. Before anything else, again, thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to getting feedback from you today about how can we make this more available or share more information with our parents in different ways so that we can see this room full of people, right? So the main thing is today we're going to talk about suicide prevention. As you know, this month, September, is National Suicide Prevention Month, and they're going to be talking about how we manage emotions, how we share hope, community supports for families we have, how can we combat depression, and anyway, give you some information about national statistics on this issue. As you know, in October, it's going to be, we're meeting on the third, I think it's the third Tuesday of each month. We're going to be meeting here, and we can go ahead and broadcast again so that if people don't come, we can share the information anyway, whether it is social media or YouTube, okay? So in October, we're going to say no to substance abuse. So that's going to be a great opportunity also to share information with our family, especially the issues we're having with the vaping, THC, C. Okay, I get all lost with the acronyms. We know it's something bad, right? So we want to educate our community about all these things out there. In November, we're going to talk about the gratitude and its benefit, how beneficial it is to be grateful, right? December is going to be respect, say yes to respect, but no to anti-bullying, okay? Then January, we're going to have the online safety and sex trafficking information. February is going to be about spreading empathy, anti-violence, dating and family violence. March is going to be text anxiety, grit, and perseverance, and we're going to end the year with cooperation and celebration. So those are some of the topics that are out there in posters, in social media already. And I want to say thank you to Ivan, our communications department, for the great work they're doing trying to get out the information. And again, I want to say thank you to the Central Plains for being here today. Like Silvia de la Garza is here. We have JJP, Veronica Salazar is here with us with her team. Thank you very much. Our MTSS team of people that do an amazing job work in the district. Some of our teachers are here as well as our counselors. So with no more delay, I would like to introduce JJ Wiseman and Lori Johnson, and they're going to be the ones now still in the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here for this very important topic tonight. We have with us two people that are going to speak first on the topic before JJ and I present some very important information. So first, I would like to welcome Stormy de la Garza.
Hello. My name is Stormy, and for those of you that don't know me, I am 25 and I'm a teacher at South. This past weekend, I shared my story for the first time. Dr. Moreno asked me to speak today. I attempted to commit suicide in December of 2022. It was the first day of our Christmas break. I often felt like my story is nothing compared to what others go through. I have a house, a car, a job, a patient husband, an 8-year-old daughter, and a very supportive family. I say this because it doesn't matter what background you come from, but that mental health does not discriminate. I had a seemingly happy and wonderful childhood until I didn't. My parents started going through a messy separation when I was in the 8th grade. There were nights when we would be waking up by yelling and screaming. I won't go into much details as that is not my story to share. Many nights I laid in bed crying myself to sleep. I think this is when my anxiety began. I began having panic attacks at school when things felt overwhelming. I felt like I was trapped in a box with no air. I made it through high school and college and suppressed my depression until I started my first real job as a teacher. I can't really give an answer as to why I got so depressed, but all I know is that when it hit me hard. I started thinking of ways to kill myself because it just felt like I didn't belong here anymore. I couldn't find my purpose in life. I couldn't figure out what I was meant to do. I felt that no one would care if I was here. I told myself that no one would cry or miss me. I found out that was not the truth after attempting. Many things in my life always came back to one statement, and that was that I was never good enough. In sports, in school, in my relationship, in motherhood. I had beaten myself up and told myself that I would never be enough. The morning I tried to kill myself, I told 3 people and made one last phone call that went to voicemail. I was hoping that someone would stop me. All 4 people turned a blind eye. I would like to say that what I did is not their fault. I just needed someone to hear me. When I made my last attempt with the phone call, it's as if everything I told myself was true. I sent my daughter away with my sister and I kissed her and I told her I loved her. I thought that would have been enough for what mistake I was about to make, which is nowhere near the amount of pain and confusion I would have put on her. I never really wanted to die. I just wanted all my pain to stop. I've had people tell me that I am weak, selfish, or that I didn't love my daughter. I've also had people say, back in our day, we used to just suck it up. Maybe I am selfish, but in that moment, I was finally feeling everything at once. I wanted a way out, and I thought suicide was the answer. I'm thankful I was not successful. I hurt many people in the process, and I finally learned and saw what I had done to the people who loved me the most. It finally clicked that I was just telling myself lies that I started to believe. What hurts more is the amount of people who messaged me. Those are the people who would have missed me too. I didn't realize the amount of people I would have left with no answers as to what I did. I didn't leave a note or answers. I cried to my mom and I asked her, what am I here for? What is my purpose? She told me, I don't know what your purpose is later, but what I do know is that right now you're meant to help every one of your students. Being a teacher has given me purpose. My students have given me a purpose. I always think about how caring they are, how happy they are to see me each day, how much they miss me when I'm gone, how each student that moves on comes back and tells me how much they really want to come back to first grade. I heard a story recently about a man that tried to kill himself by jumping off the Golden State Bridge and miraculously survived. He said many things that I could never put into words myself. Dealing with mental health, I always said I wanted to be normal, or that I wasn't normal. After hearing his story, I finally said I was normal in the world of depression and anxiety. I'm not alone, and what I feel is normal. What I go through is normal. I stopped comparing my sadness with others. I stopped telling myself these lies. I'm not 100% better, but I'm finally seeing the light. I may never be 100%, but I will learn how to cope with this. Sometimes it's not what you go through, but it's how you deal with and manage situations. I often say if people had the chance to see what happened after suicide, maybe they wouldn't leave. If they had the chance to see the effects. I honestly believe that many people who have committed suicide didn't want to die, but wanted the pain to stop. I'm here today to say that it doesn't matter who you are, but that suicide can affect many people from many demographics. Sometimes it's hard to see the signs, and sometimes the signs are right in your face. Take the time to talk to someone and listen and offer help, because getting help was the best decision I made. I have depression and anxiety, but depression and anxiety do not have me. I will beat mental health. Today, I'm speaking for those who have passed, those who have attempted before me, and for those who will try after me. I will continue to advocate for people who deal with depression and stop the stigma around it. If you are dealing with mental health, please know you are not weak. Thank you.
Thank you, Stormy, and to your family. We appreciate your articulateness and your eloquence for speaking today and for sharing your story. It takes courage, and I just can't thank you enough for sharing that with us. We needed to hear that, and we just have to hear that to be able to move forward and to help others. Thank you so much. Minga Rodriguez is going to speak also about her experience.
I don't know how to follow that, but yes. They just asked me if I wanted to say a few words today because August 17th, around 6:30, I got a phone call that one of my loved ones had committed suicide. We didn't see the signs. We didn't, nothing. He was going through something, and we'll never know because he didn't leave a note. didn't leave a note, but apparently his pain was larger than the love that we gave him. He was 29 years old. He took his life on his birthday. He participated in family vacations, family dinners. He worked. He was a coach. He was a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. He helped little ones learn that trade, the sport, and to this day, we don't know what happened. We don't know nothing, because he didn't leave anything behind. Just a quick 3-sentence text, that's all he to one of my nephews. He was not my blood nephew, but he lived in my sister's home for 7 years, and he was a nephew to me. So all I suggest is that just keep your eyes open on your loved ones. Keep your eyes on them. Look for the signs. We didn't see any signs, but maybe you can. You can pick up on something. And sometimes you're not being selfish. No, you're not. Because at that point in your life, in their life, maybe that was the way he saw a way out of it. That was the way he got relief. And it's hard for the loved ones to stay behind and not knowing why they did it. It's very, I'm not saying it's great to have a note or anything, but at least you don't ever wonder anymore. But it's very hard. Just keep an eye on it. And if you know anyone, we have, children that are walking through our hallways contemplating suicide for one reason or another. So, take the time. We live in a world that we just say, oh, how are you? But we don't take the time to really listen to what they have to say. Take the moment to, if you're going to ask someone, how are you? Take the time to listen for a minute or two, because you never know that you can be that person that turns their thinking around, and and you can help them. And I am so glad that y'all are doing this, because this needs to go out. This really does. And I'm glad that y'all are doing this, and thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you both once again for your honesty and vulnerability. We do appreciate it so much. So this is the first of our family series. We're going to be doing this once a month as counselors. And so this is in honor of National Suicide Prevention Month. I titled this slide, "We Have a Problem," because we do. And there are some statistics that I want to share with you that show by the numbers what a problem we have nationally. If you know anything about how studies are done, statistics are released, they come delayed. Like, we can't immediately get statistics for a previous year. They take a little time for all of it to be gathered. But we did have last month on August 10th an early release from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and these were the early numbers for 2022. The provisional numbers show a 2.6% rise in suicides for last year, and this follows a 5% increase in 2021. So what that's saying is we have had a 7.6% increase in suicide in the last 2 years alone. Okay, that's pretty significant. The early numbers show that 49,449 people lost their lives to suicide last year, and that's up from 48,183 deaths in 2021. On average, there are 132 suicides per day. There were an estimated, and those are completed suicides. There were an estimated 1.7
0 million suicide attempts in 2021. Just a couple of other statistics that I found interesting. Men died by suicide, completed suicide 3.9 times more than women. And in 2021, firearms accounted for 54.64% of all suicide deaths. So some things to think about in those numbers there for sure. This is something that I feel should be getting more attention than it is. I've hardly seen any research about it or news coverage about it, but life expectancy, that is how long we are living as Americans. For about 100 years, we have been gradually living longer and longer, right? Except for the last 2 years. We're going backward. Life expectancy is falling in the US for the first time in over 100 years. The last time we had it fall, it took a world war to make that happen. Now that is happening as a result of suicides and drug overdoses, or what experts term as deaths of despair. So those higher percentages of suicides and drug overdoses are causing us to percentage-wise live less long than we have in the past. With rare exceptions, life expectancy has been on the rise. It was 47 years in 1900, 68 years in 1950, and by 2019 had risen to nearly 79 years. But it has fallen to 77 years in 2020 and dropped further to just over 76 in 2021. So it's going backward pretty significantly. And it is, as I said, a result of those deaths of despair. So something we definitely need to be paying attention to. The positive news, we always need to look for the positive, right? Among all the negative data, there was one positive statistic that I liked seeing, and that was 94% of adults surveyed in the US think suicide can be prevented. And that's what we need to reach for. We need to search for ways to be part of that prevention. I want to go over with you warning signs to start with. The warning signs of suicide are indicators that a person may be in acute danger and may urgently need help. And as we know, not every person exhibits all the signs. Some of them may not exhibit any of the signs, but these are some things that we would definitely want to look for as we're taking inventory of how people around us are doing. The first is talking about wanting to die or to kill oneself. And sometimes this could be, they may say it in a lighthearted way. You want to kind of drill down and see what their purpose is in saying that. Looking for a way to kill oneself. Talking about feeling hopeless or having no purpose. Talking about feeling trapped or being in unbearable pain. Talking about being a burden to others. We sometimes see that with the elderly, for example. Increasing the use of alcohol or drugs. There's a lot of evidence that shows that in many cases when alcohol or drugs enter the picture, that greatly can increase a person's tendency to want to take their own life. Acting anxious, agitated or restless or reckless, sleeping too little or too much, withdrawing or feeling isolated, showing rage or talking about seeking revenge, and also displaying extreme mood swings. So those are just some things to think about. Like I said, they don't always apply to every person. There are some risk factors to consider as well, things that put people at greater risk for suicide ideation. Mental disorders, particularly mood disorders, schizophrenia, anxiety disorders, and certain personality disorders. Alcohol use and other substance use disorders, which we'll talk about in more detail next month, but there it is again. hopelessness, impulsive and or aggressive tendencies, a history of trauma or abuse, major physical or chronic illnesses, a previous suicide attempt, a family history of suicide, a recent job loss or financial loss, recent loss of a relationship, also easy access to lethal means, local clusters of suicide, lack of social support and sense of isolation, stigma associated with asking for help. We sometimes see that culturally. Some cultures are a little more sensitive about that. So if you're part of one of those cultures, maybe that's something to think about. Lack of health care, especially mental health and substance abuse treatment. Cultural and religious beliefs, such as the belief that suicide is a noble resolution of a particular dilemma. Once again, coming into culture, some cultures that may be the case. And exposure to others who have died by suicide in real life or via the media and internet. In addition to the risk factors, we also have protective factors. So trying to, once again, come back to the positive. Protective factors are characteristics that make a person less likely to engage in suicidal behavior. Moreover, protective factors can promote resilience and ensure connectedness with others during difficult times, thereby making suicidal behaviors less likely. And these include these protective factors: effective clinical care for mental, physical, and substance abuse disorders, easy access to a variety of clinical interventions, restricted access to highly lethal means of suicide, strong connections to family and community support, support through ongoing medical and mental health care relationships, skills in problem solving, conflict resolution, and handling problems in a nonviolent way. And finally, cultural and religious beliefs that discourage suicide and support self-preservation. So you see some of these traits can be both a risk and a protective. It just depends on kind of how we're processing those, right? All right, so that is my portion, and Laurie's gonna come now and take over what to do.
Hi, I'm Nick Offerman. Thanks for joining me and the good folks at the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Most of us would take action if we knew someone close to us was thinking about suicide, but many of us don't know what to do. Here are 5 steps to take to be the one to help save a life. Warning signs of a suicidal crisis include extreme changes in mood, sleeping habits, and increased drug or alcohol use. Someone might talk about feeling hopeless or like a burden to others. If you notice these signs, ask directly, are you thinking about suicide? Studies show that asking about suicide does not increase suicidal thoughts or actions. Being there means helping a person in crisis feel less alone. Be present and calm. Try not to judge. Listen to their reasons for being in pain and help them focus on reasons for living. If you can't be there in person, connect by phone, text, or video. Keeping someone safe means putting time and distance between them and any means they could use to hurt themselves. Work with them to remove dangerous objects or offer to hold on to them until the crisis has passed. Ask, do you have a plan to harm yourself? What's the timing? How would you do this? When lethal means are made less available, suicide rates by that method decline. Help someone with thoughts of suicide connect with others and support resources. Develop a safety plan together with ways to recognize when they are in a crisis, actions they can take if they feel desperate or overwhelmed, and individuals and services to contact when a crisis occurs. After taking these 4 steps, visit, call, or text in the days and weeks to come. Ask, how are you today? Is there anything you need? Even simply reaching out is proven to help reduce the risk for suicide. When someone we know is struggling to cope, we can ask, be there, keep them safe, help them connect, and follow up. These 5 actions can help not only prevent suicides, but also build a more connected and compassionate world.
So I really liked this video because I really felt like it helped to show what we need to do in quick, easy steps. Now, if I can get it off of the full screen. And it's not always easy to know in that moment. Even trained counselors can have moments where we freeze in that moment. So I think these steps are super easy for us to follow. We have to ask the question, though.
Hi.
I'm sorry. Technology. I want to go to the next slide. There we go. All right. So when you ask, you have to be specific. You may be the only one to ask. And as Stormy said, she gave hints. She was giving hints, and no one really asked her what was going on with her. It was going through daily motions for her. And she referenced the Kevin Hines story. And he says in his testimonial, if you're familiar with the story, he was just wanting one person on the bus as he was going to commit suicide to ask him, what's wrong? Do you need something? And no one did. We have to ask the question. Don't assume that anyone will ask. And I even have littles on my campus that I have to ask these specific questions to. So you have to be very specific. So if you're talking to an adult, you can be very specific and use the word suicide. If you're talking to a little, you can use the terms killing yourself. But you have to be specific. Don't beat around the bush, even if they have been giving just vague hints. Do you have a plan to harm yourself? This is going to be very important when you get crisis services involved because they're going to need to know what plan we're talking about. And if you end up being the one to help keep them safe, you need to know what to keep them safe from. What was their plan? What do you need to take away from them? Asking is going to be the reason that a life is saved. So even if you're afraid they're going to get mad, are you really going to be afraid of them getting mad, or are you going to be glad that you saved a life? Okay. My first experience in life with suicide was as a 14-year-old. I had a friend that passed me a note as we were going into school. Yes, that's how old I am. She passed me a note, and I got to reading it as I sat down in band. And I was like, this doesn't sound right. What is going on here? I could tell that she was going to harm herself. And as I looked through the room, her seat was empty. She had left school. Then I had to go convince my old school band director that I had to leave the room. I had to go make a phone call. And the only person I knew to call was my youth director to go find her mother to go check on her. And if I had not done that, she would have died that day. That was a 14-year-old. I didn't know what to do. But if I hadn't done that, she would have died. So we always have to assume that we are the only person that's going to take action. And that's what we have to train others to do as well. All right. If you notice warning signs, any warning sign, you must assume that you need to start taking some action, start investigating. Doesn't matter what that warning sign is. And for each age group, it can be different. So start investigating. Avoid judging. Don't start telling them all the reasons that they have to live, because that is not the place that they're in. If they are in the place where they are ready to end it all, they're not wanting to hear that at that moment. They're looking for what I like to call in counseling a pause button. If they could hit a pause button and stop the world for a moment to make things better, that would fix things for them. So we have to do the best that we can to provide that pause button. And so judgment is not going to help. So avoid judging. Be present. If you are with them and can be present in person, that is best. And don't leave their side until the absolute best help available is available. If all you can do is be present via text, via, I don't know, FaceTime, on the phone, whatever it is, until you can get the best help available, then that's what you do. Offer to go with them, offer to drive them, offer to get whatever you can available in terms of transportation to get them to the help that they need. And of course, at school, what we do is bring the help to them and get their parents there and stay with them and practically hold their hand until we get them all the services wrapped around them that they need. Help keep them safe. All right, so this is when you needed to know the plan. Whatever that plan was that they were going to do to harm themselves, you're going to remove any objects that they can harm themselves with. And sometimes it might be something that's special to them or important. So offer to hold it for them until they can have it back when they are safer to themselves. I always tell parents that they need to lock up all medications, including over-the-counter medications. You need to lock up all of the sharp objects in the house, anything that they can harm themselves with, until they are back in a safe mind space. Spend time with them and arrange for their safety. So you may be with them for, that may be your day, your weekend, I don't know. But you need to stay by their side until you know that they're 100% safe. So for us at school, that's until we can get the crisis team from Central Plains to come. And then we get their parents there and we are wrapped around them until we know that they're 100% safe. If you're with your friend or family, then that's also what you need to do. And of course, on every slide, I have our local suicide hotline. If you're like me and you have a very short-term memory, I have the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, which is 988, which is directly connected to our local services. If you call, if you text, whatever you need to do, you can do 988 and they're going to get our local services connected to you immediately. Help make them appointments. Let's say you determine that they are not in immediate crisis. If they were in enough of a situation that you know they need help, don't just drop it. Still help them get the help that they need. Reach out to their school counselor, reach out to whatever services you need to help them go ahead and get some mental health help that they can. Central Plains Center is located at 715 Houston for intakes. Their number is 806-291-4470, and they can do the assessments to determine what kind of services that we might need. They will go into the school system. All kinds of things can be provided that way, even if it's not an emergency. If there was enough of a situation that you felt that some sort of crisis might be coming, don't wait until there's a crisis. And then follow up. Text them, call them, spend time with them, set a date the next day, 2 days later, check up with them. How are you doing? How can I help you? Learn their new coping skills and support those coping skills. If they've had to have a life change, if they have had to stop alcohol and drugs, make sure that you are supportive of that and take them someplace to get a Coke instead and spend time with them. The 988 is 24/7. Again, it directly connects to our local mental health authority, which is Central Plains Center. It's for thoughts of suicide, a mental health crisis, substance use crisis. It's for texting and phone calls, chatting, whatever we need. It's fabulous, and I think it's great that we have that. We can remember that very easily, just like 911. We have 988. All right. Do we have any questions? Thank you so much for coming tonight. Thank you to our speakers. We appreciate you. Have a lovely evening.